I'm so glad you're here for this episode. You're in for a real treat. This is a fun conversation with a friend of mine who truly is an open book. She's a former TV personality turned speaker, facilitator, and author. Paige Fehling and I touch on a lot of topics in this episode. We talk about reinvention. Perhaps you find yourself in a season of reinvention. What it was like for her to leave her stable TV career and go out on her own to pursue her own business as a speaker and a facilitator. I ask her what her top pieces of advice are for leaders who want to be more effective at work and other areas in their life. And we spend a lot of time talking about Paige's recent weight loss. Paige is very open in talking about taking a GLP-1 medication to help her with losing weight, and she shares with us how it's really changed her life. Enjoy this fun, candid conversation with my friend, Paige Fehling. 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Colleen Odegaard. One day, I was an Emmy Award-winning television journalist, married to the love of my life, and had 2 beautiful children living under my roof. Then one day, I woke up to a life I didn't recognize. Divorced, in a career transition, with my 2 boys grown and out of the house. I had to get really comfortable being alone really fast, or I was going to lose my shit. This podcast is about reinventing yourself in a new season of life, getting to know yourself again, and having more peace, more love, more levity. This is Wake Up to Your Life. Paige Fehling, I am beyond delighted to have you here as a guest on the Wake Up to Your Life podcast.
I am beyond delighted. As I told you when I first got here, I agreed to do it, A, because I would anyway, but B, I have been desperate to see you and catch up. And if this is how we're going to do it, this is how we're going to do it.
So we're going to do our catch up on a podcast. Yeah. That's what's going to happen. You know I have time for you anytime. All you have to do is text me and say the word. I will be there. I will be at your home.
Well, it's better with microphones in front of us anyway, right?
Well, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Yeah, so, you are a speaker, keynote speaker, an author, a podcaster, a facilitator, a teacher. You do a lot of stuff now after you left television, and I want to talk a little bit about that transition. But you have a keynote talk that you give about news you can use as it applies to leadership?
Yes. So I found, as you probably did too, when I left news to start my own business, doing speaking and doing facilitating and whatever else I was doing, which at the time I was doing whatever else that people would ask me to do, right? Because when you first leave and people say like, do you speak on leadership? Yes, I do. Right. Do you speak on communication? Do you wash windows?
Absolutely.
Exactly. Everything is like, yes, right. So eventually you learn to sort of hone it down a bit, right? So I learned that a lot of the topics that I was speaking on and the subjects that I was able to pull from, of course, came from the past 20 years of what I had been doing, which was TV news. And what you learn of 20 years of being on live television are things that really do apply to a corporate setting, because so much of it is just being able to think on your feet and being able to spin stories from something bad to something that can turn into good, right? And like tapping into what you can do well and helping to find that in other people so that you can divide up the duties among who can actually do what so that you're not the one having to do it all. And it applies to a corporate setting perfectly. So I've just kind of turned it into a talk, and it's working out okay.
And it's working. And companies are happy to have you come and speak to their employees about this. So when I asked you to come on the show, that was kind of the peg. I thought, well, this is what we're going to talk about, right? But then you get here and we're talking about all these other things. So I think it's kind of more of a catch up with Paige and Colleen is what it is. But I do want you to be able to say some of the things that you share with leaders of companies and share with listeners, because I think we're all leading in some way. Even if you're listening right now and you're a stay-at-home mom, you're a teacher in a classroom, you're an employee, there's still somebody you're leading, whether it is your family, whether it is motivating your coworkers to get buy-in on a project, those kinds of things. Yes. So I think these principles that you teach are really applicable to anyone.
Oh my God. I can't stay away from the personal stories too, because that's what it ties in with everyone, right? So like, yes, one of the concepts that I learned and I'm trying to think of who said it first. I always chat GPT where I heard something so that I can attribute it. I guess the journalist in me never feels, you never feel okay saying like, here's this idea and I'm the one who came up with it. I'm like,
attribution.
Yeah, yes. I know I heard it somewhere. It certainly didn't come from my brain, but it's the idea of having a definition of done. Right? So definition of done is meaning when you ask someone to do something, you tell them what it looks like when it's finished so that they don't go, I thought that's what you wanted. So in a corporate setting, for example, if you say to somebody, I need you to give Q4 update to the investors next week at the meeting, right? And they show up and stand up for 30 seconds and they're like, here's where our earnings are, here's where our losses are, the end, sit down. And you meant for them to prepare a 15-minute PowerPoint presentation to fill that portion of the presentation. That's really on you because you didn't give them a definition of done, right? You didn't tell them specifically what you would expect. Now, at home with 3 children, we have chores at our house. We really only have 2, and we divide them up. One is dog hair and one is dishes. And we have 3 dogs, so one of the kids always does dog hair because he literally, I've seen him vomit. He he dry heaves when he tries to do dishes because the dishes are so gross. It's not just it's not a clean dish that you're putting in the dishwasher. It's like gunky egg and cereal and stuff. So he just does dishes and the other 2 he just does dog hair and the other 2 split dishes. So June, my daughter's week to do dishes was last week, and we're leaving for school, and she goes, and I said, June, I look down at the sink, and it looks like someone has had like an egg party and a dish towel party and a water. I mean, there's just gunk everywhere.
The Fehlings are just filthy
just
animals.
Disgusting.
Pigs.
Colleen,
the whole lot of you.
It's true. And I go, June, and she goes, I said, aren't you dishes this week? And she goes, Mom, the dishes are done. And I go, fair. There are no dishes in the sink. Allow me to define for you what I mean by done with the dishes, right? And I go, when you leave, and it's your week to have done the dishes, when you leave for school, there needs to be no food in the sink. There needs to be no dishes in the sink, but the ones that are in the dishwasher can be there, and the other ones have been hand washed and dried and put away. The water is dried up, and the towels are hung back up. When you leave for school, when it's your week to do the dishes, the definition of done is that it looks like children do not live in this house and have never eaten in it in the history of since it's been built. Are we clear? And that's the definition of done, right?
Got it. That is very helpful, actually. So when you're telling leaders or you're telling people in companies to make sure they communicate done, how do they do that?
Well, by being specifically prescriptive about exactly what does it look like? What do I expect? What's the actionable, right? What's the deliverable? I want this packet in my hand, or I want this PowerPoint in my inbox by this time. Like when someone just says, even just saying, I'll get back to you by end of the day or by close of business. Well, I had a call yesterday with people on the West Coast. My end of the day is different from theirs. I mean, it depends on how specific you want to get, but the point is simply to have people kind of tap into the specifics of what do I mean? What do you mean?
I think that's so good in all of our communication with everyone in our lives, as much as we can do that. I think that's really helpful.
Yeah. I mean, when you say to your boys, like they're out of the house now, right? They're in college. If you say, you check in every now and then, what does every now and then mean to you?
3 times a day.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. No. But yes, I would like a text or phone call every 3 days. How's that?
Because if you just said what would they have probably done every now and then?
Call or text once a month.
Right.
Which is not enough for me.
Right.
Yes. So be specific about what it is you want done. Okay. What's another tip from your keynote talk that you like to share? One of your favorites?
One of my favorites. Okay. Another favorite is the 1-3-1 rule. Are you familiar with this?
No.
This is another specific that I stole from someone else. I do know who I stole this one from, though. His name is Dan Martell, and it's from a book called Buy Back Your Time. Producer Kristen is nodding. Do you love him? I know. He's so good at taking things and going, which you and I love, Colleen. Don't do the stuff you hate and that you're bad at. Hire someone else to do it. So the 1-3-1 rule, it comes from, are you familiar with the Harvard Business Review article about the monkey, get the monkey off your back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's the same principle. So Dan Martell says, if in journalism school you learned 1-3-1 is 1 main point, 3 supporting points, 1 conclusion. It's not that one. 1-3-1 is 1 problem. Someone can come to you with 1 problem at a time. When they do, so that they're not just going, hey, by the way, that conference room we booked for next week is not big enough for the group that we have for it. Tell me what you want to do about that. And then you're stuck with the next 4 hours going, well, crap, how many people are coming? What room were we in? Where can we go? Right? Then it's on your plate. So instead, they come to you with 1 problem at a time. They then offer 3 solutions, 3 possible solutions, and 1 recommended course of action. So that you can then say, they come and they say, the conference room doesn't work. We can either rebook a different conference room, but we have to fill out all the paperwork because those people over there make us fill out a ton of paperwork to use their conference room. Or we can divide the time up and have people cycle through in our conference room, but we'll just have to expand the time. Or we can move to Zoom and just be virtual. I recommend I'll pick a different finger.
Not this one?
I was flicking Colleen off while I did that, yeah.
Welcome to Wake Up to Your Life. Those of you watching on YouTube. Yeah.
Screw all of you.
Screw all
and
y'all.
your stupid ideas. They can say, I recommend we keep our conference room because that way we're all together that we want to be and we don't have to mess with the paperwork of the other one. What do you think? And then you as the leader, as the boss, get to go yes or no instead of having it be something that all of a sudden became 4 hours of work for you to do.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your transition out of TV news. You did that for 20 plus years.
Oh boy. I think it was actually on the other end of 20, like almost 20. But I say 20 because it gives me more street cred. So let's just say about
Let's say 20.
Let's say about 20.
Let's say 2 decades. I don't like to say the real number because it makes me sound so elderly.
No, you should say that. You should actually make yourself sound older because then people go, wow, you look great.
You look amazing.
Yeah.
I just had a baby.
Right? Exactly.
Like, you look great.
Yeah.
Which you do look great, and we'll talk about that too in just a second. But so you were in TV, as I was, as a journalist and news anchor. Then you hosted a lifestyle show on television, and then decided to leave that to start your own thing. One of the themes of this podcast is resilience and reinvention, because I think so many people find themselves in different stages of life, and you may have to reinvent yourself in some way. What has that transition been like for you? Leaving the career that you knew you could do it in your sleep to starting your own thing?
Depends on the day you ask me, honestly. And I'm sure you can relate to that, right? I mean, the days that I am delivering content, the days that I'm doing the thing I left to do, which is what I get paid to do. So doing a keynote talk, facilitating a workshop, being on a podcast, I'm like, I am living my purpose. This is why I left TV, and I'm so glad I did. The days back to back that I'm home having to build a new proposal or figure out what's going on with the back end of my website or do follow-up from a talk, I would rather stick a hot poker through my eye. Right? But that's the honest answer. I would say like 57% of the time I'm thrilled and I'm so glad I did it and I'm so happy to be where I am. And the other, let's do that quick math. 43.
We were journalism majors. We don't do math.
Where's that calculator? It's just hard.
You said iWatch of yours.
I
don't
know.
you?
I don't know how to. If I could turn it
True
on.
story. She has an iWatch, and she's had it for 2 years.
I think it's called an Apple Watch.
Or Apple Watch. Why did I say iWatch? Oh my God. Who's the dummy now? Okay, you've got the Apple Watch,
knew
not
what you meant.
iWatch. Apple Watch. You've had it for 2 years, and you like it because you think it looks cute. You don't really use it for anything else other than an accessory until recently.
If I glance down every now and then, if it happens to like light up, I know what time it is, or there's a text, but I don't know how to make that happen I don't know what buttons to push to make that happen.
Let's learn how to use that calculator
there we
on
go.
that there Apple iWatch.
However many percentage is left, that's the top part that it's hard and it feels like any other job, right? I think. What do you think?
Yeah, well, so I did the same thing,
Yeah.
left TV to go all in on my business too. And it was just like you. I loved the coaching. I loved the speaking. I loved the podcasting. I didn't like sending invoices. I didn't like the follow-up. I didn't like sitting at the computer. That stuff made me just want to get back in the bed. I hate doing that stuff. So that part was hard for me. And then, of course, I went through a divorce and became depressed, and it was hard for me to run my business. So
in general,
that's
do
why
you
I went
remember
back
our
and got a job.
conversation about that? About when I was still in TV and you had just left?
Yes.
Do you remember this? Because I remember it vividly.
Oh, say more.
So I was on a walk, and I don't know if you and I had met in person at that point. I don't think we had. I think we just had ever only talked on the phone because you talked to me 15 years ago when I was considering a move to Charlotte.
I remember this.
Someone referred us. And when I was thinking of leaving TV, you had already left. And I just said, would you be willing to jump on a call? I would love to hear from what your experience has been like, what has worked. And we talked logistics for a bit. And then I go, and I remember I was on a walk. I was right by Ardrey Hill High School. And I go, can I ask you on the personal side? I said, can I ask you how it was for you and your husband, these conversations? And this was before you were divorced. But I think you were probably, I didn't know it at the time, but I think you were, I remember you just stopped and you paused from it. And I go, I'm so sorry if that's too personal. And you go, no, and I said, and then I jumped in and I was like, because just so you know, all my husband and I do is fight about this for me. I go, I want him to be like, do it. You're going to be great. I believe in you. Like I wanted it to be a movie script, right? And like, it wasn't. And then you were like, me neither. And I just remember being like, oh, thank you for being honest about that. And like, it made me feel bad, but also better, because you're like, it's not a movie script. Every spouse doesn't go like, I got your back, babe. I'll work extra jobs so that you can follow your dream. Like my husband was like, no, we got a pretty sweet thing going.
Yeah, like, are you sure you want to do this? Oh my God, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm glad you share that because, in this curated world we live in of social media, it is so easy to think, man, look at Paige just left TV and now she's started her own business and she's crushing it. And look at how cute Paige and her husband Jake are. And oh my God, they couldn't possibly have any struggles. When in reality, it was him saying, I don't know, we have a good thing going here. You've got a paycheck every 2 weeks. You've got benefits. Are you sure you want to give all that up?
Yeah. And he called me out on he goes, you're not going to do the stuff you have to do to grow a business. And I was like, this mother, like, what are you, but as much as I hate to admit it, he was right. He knew me well enough, and I knew me well enough to know. He's like, you're not gonna want it. Like, I go to him to fix my computer or to build my website, and he goes, and we did it. We have gotten to a pretty good space with it now, but for the first year or two, it was like we had fights to where it would be. He's like, I am not your employee. I do not, you know what I mean? And I would say, can you help me with this? And we finally had one really good clarifying conversation where I would go, I need your help. And he goes, when you ask for my help, you're asking me to do it for you. And I go, yeah. And he goes, that's not the same thing. And I was like, good point. Fair point. Right? So I need to either like hire someone who I am hiring to do a thing, or help means I'm learning to do it also.
Yes.
Which I don't want to do.
Oh my God. These were fights that my husband and my ex-husband and I would have. Because I freak out. The computer doesn't work. I'm like, oh my God, here, you take it, fix it, make it work. And it would become his problem for the next 45 minutes. And
Ditto.
Gee, I wonder why that wasn't, aren't I a delight to be married to? Why am I divorced now? Shocker. But, you know, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember, I guess I do remember that conversation.
I remember that pause and thinking, oh, I've just hit a nerve. And I need to tell her that for us, it's a huge, so that she knows, you know what I mean? Like, and it makes you not feel so alone to go like, okay, it doesn't play out perfectly for everyone. And when people say like, I was brave to leave TV to him, I was like, no, I wasn't. I had a husband who had a job who, you know, I knew that was in place. So I had the freedom to be able to do this because that was in place. I think it's a different story when you're a single income family, or when you are, you know, someone's home and you're the single breadwinner or what have you. It is different. It's not the same like pie in the sky. Oh, follow your dreams. Like sometimes it's good to stay in a solid job. Or we've talked too about the comfort of going back to a solid paycheck, right? Killing to eat is very stressful.
It is very stressful, isn't it? When you don't know when you're going to get paid again. And you and I we went on a walk, and I talked about that with you when I went back into television to sell TV advertising. You were so sweet. You were totally supportive of it. You got it. You knew it was me. I told you, I'm not good at running a business. I don't like this part. And I'm not married anymore. I don't have a backup income. It's just me, myself and I taking care of me. So I need to figure something out. And I went and did that. And now I'm figuring it out again because I'm in transition again, reinvention again. As an entrepreneur and a former TV person, do you struggle with the comparison stuff that you see on social media, maybe from other female entrepreneurs who are in the space in which you occupy, and think, you know, oh my gosh, she's killing it, and I haven't booked a gig for a month? Or is that a thing that plagues you?
Honest answer, not really, because I shut that stuff down real quick. I just don't look at it. There are some people that I see on, and I would love to, because I know that that's a very common thing, and it's not because I'm immune to it. It's because I find it so intolerable that, and I'm like, why would I don't want that negative feeling. And I know that when there's certain people or accounts that I see, and I go to sort of it makes me feel a little crummy, and I go, why? I'm just not going to see that. So I've unfollowed people or muted people, and it's not from like it doesn't feel in my heart or my soul like it's disliked them or it's like ugly. It just literally comes from, for whatever reason, that doesn't spark joy when I see it. So I'm just not going to see it.
I'm not surprised by your answer, because I answer the same way.
Yeah.
I have not always been impervious to that. I mean, I think initially when I went out on my own, when I left television, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, I got a little bit like that, but I'm so good at shutting it down too. And I wonder if this comes from our years on being on the air and people sending snarky emails or you know, writing things on social media like, I hate what Colleen's wearing today, or she looks like she's gained some weight, and you know, because those things would happen.
Yeah.
And I just got really good at tuning that out and not looking for it and ignoring it.
Yes. And don't you think also, I think part of it is because, to your point, like you said, we all know anything can look like anything on social media. And we all know that everyone is dealing with crap behind the scenes also. And I don't think that most people are trying to make things look perfect on social media. I think that it's just the actual real parts. Like, nobody wants to see you fighting with your husband or yelling at your kids. That's not appropriate content necessarily to put, you know what I mean? It's like, it would be weird to film a fight you had with your spouse and put that on social media. So that's why it's not there. It's not because people are trying to make each other feel bad. It's just sort of an unintentional result of what ends up going out there. Does that, I mean, like back to what we were talking about before, one thing I do try to intentionally do, A, because I think it helps people, and B, because it's just kind of who I am and how I am, and I appreciate it in other people, is show up sweaty, show up gross, like, show up, do stuff without makeup on, do stuff with makeup on, like, and not make that the focus of it. But just Kristen Bell is a celebrity I follow who I appreciate that about her. She goes on to Instagram Live or whatever. She clearly has no makeup on. She, by the way, is still like a beautiful person, whatever. But you can tell there's a very different look from when she's in her living room, when she's at the Academy Awards. And that's not she doesn't make that part of the content. She just does it because she's a human being. Jesse Itzler, do you know who that is?
Yes.
In case listeners or viewers don't, he is probably best known for being Sarah Blakely's husband and like sort of a reverse, right? She founded Spanx, but he himself is an author and speaker, and he is a huge fitness fanatic. And he shows up to most interviews and keynote talks looking like this because he's just come from a 120-mile run or whatever. And
if you're only listening to this, it should be noted Paige is in her workout
right,
clothes.
sorry.
So no, don't be sorry.
Yes.
No, I'm just letting listeners know.
Yes.
Yep.
But I remember seeing him and thinking, oh yeah, you can just, he values his fitness and he values that routine. And so why not show up looking like that? Because it would take, like, I could have said no to the podcast, or I can say, I'm planning to work out at this time. Do you mind if I come sweaty? And you said no. So I said, great, then I can do it. I would rather be here sweaty than not be here at all.
Such a great attitude. And I appreciate that about you so much. I try to be that way too. I mean, I don't do so much on social media anymore, but I love that you are real. You show up as you. But how do you think you've gotten to this place? I mean, because a moment ago you mentioned how you know that a lot of people do struggle with that. They struggle with comparison. They have some sort of feeling about some other woman's success. How do you think you've gotten to the place where you're able to be truly happy for others and not feel threatened or not feel jealous? Maybe you've never really had to deal with it. I don't know.
That's a good question. And I want to be honest in my answer. And I think, like you said, I don't know that I'm not jealousy is not one of my things. I don't think, you know what I mean? Like I have plenty of other things that I struggle with and suck at. And that happens to not really be one of mine, for what I think, just sort of naturally. And maybe some people are kind of wired that way. That's not to say I've never experienced jealousy, of course. But I also, I feel pretty good about the stuff that I'm good at and can do well. And I'm pretty honest with myself about the stuff I suck at and I'm not good at. And I'm just kind of okay with that. And I think I don't have a better answer than to say it's sort of how I'm wired, maybe.
I think that's a great answer, though, to really know what you're good at and own it, and the stuff that you're not good at, to own that and recognize that as well. And the last part you said there, to be okay with it. It's the acceptance of, yeah, this is who I am, right? And that helps you to be more at peace with, this is the deal.
Working out and eating healthy, right? I don't do either one of those things naturally. I'm not good at them. I don't enjoy them. I talked to somebody today and she was saying, I said, because I said we were meeting for coffee this morning, and I said, I'm going to be in workout clothes because I'm going to go work out afterwards, just so you know. So you feel free to come the same way or don't, but that's how I'll look. And I said, you're a runner? And she goes, yes, it's my mental health break. It's what I do. And I go, God bless you for that. I wish that working out to me felt like something I looked forward to. I hate it. It is torture. I like going for walks, but aside from that, I have to make myself do it. But I know a lot of people, they're like blessed with this desire to move their bodies, or like we were saying before, they can eat half a cheeseburger and their body tells them they're full and then they stop. If I were not on GLP-1 shots for the last year, I would be eating a cheeseburger from now until Tuesday. Like if it was
every single French fry,
and
right?
every single French fry on the plate. It's just, I'm not naturally blessed in that way. Like everybody has their things and doesn't have their things.
So I know you have lost weight. You look amazing. I thought you looked amazing before you lost a pound. I've always thought you were beautiful.
So did I, thankfully. But when I look back at those pictures, I'm like, wow, what mirrors was I looking in? I felt great at the time. I didn't feel that bad. And then I was like, whew, that weight starts to come off. And I was like, that was necessary.
What was the decision for you to get on the GLP-1 shots?
I mean, I've always struggled with weight. I've always been up and down. I think I went to the doctor. I went to my yearly, I go every year to a physical, and I had gained 30 pounds in 1 year. And I had to bring that up to my doctor, though, which is the crazy thing to me, too. She goes, here's where you were last year. And I go, is that 30 pounds? And she goes, yeah, we've probably, and I go, that's a lot of weight to gain in a year, right? And she goes, yeah. And I was like, you shouldn't be embarrassed to like, this is my health. Like I definitely have this weight to lose. And she suggested, I said, I've heard about these shots. I've tried I do all the things. And I know when people say like, I try, and you're like, well, just try harder. Like, you can just not eat or not. I get that. I've thought that too. I thought that about myself for the, 5 to 10 years since I had babies where I was trying to lose weight and gain it. And I kind of decided, like, I can tell myself I should be able to do this until the cows come home, or I can just recognize I've been quote unquote trying and it's not working for me. I don't seem able to stop myself the way other people sometimes can, in the same way that if you said to someone who truly was an alcoholic or a drug addict, or maybe depression is a better example. Someone who feels depressed and takes meds for depression because that's something they're taking to help with something that they feel like they can't control. I've never struggled with depression, but for me to say, just feel happy or just think about things that are happy, go for a walk, do a workout, it'll make you feel better. That's easy for me to say because that does help me. For someone who can leave fries on the plate, to just say, just stop eating, use the discipline. I had a friend the other day say to me, because she's very lean, always has been, and you and I were talking about GLP-1s, and I go, you're so understanding about this and you're so informed about it from someone who doesn't seem to have had that struggle. And she goes, no, and her boyfriend goes, she's just super disciplined. And she looked at me and she goes, am I disciplined if it's not hard for me? And I go, I love you for saying that. What a great point. She goes, it's not hard for me to not. I like to eat healthy, and I'm not that into food to where when I eat it, I can stop. And she goes, it's not hard. When I open my laptop, Colleen, it's not hard for me to not look at porn. I don't have to convince myself not to. For many people, they do. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the same thing. It's like everyone has different struggles and different things that can help them.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that. It's really great. What about when people say, like, oh, people who are taking the shots, it's an easy way out or something?
Yes, it is it has been so much easier for me to lose weight this time around than it ever was before because the shot slows your digestion. Period. The end.
I don't like the shaming that I've seen on social media, the comments about people saying, why can't people just have more discipline? They shouldn't be using the shots. I'm like, you skinny people are just mad because now there's more skinny people around here too. Yeah. That's kind of shitty, I think. Like, because I like, as someone who has struggled with food, not having a healthy relationship with food and overeating, I too will eat every French fry on the plate until the past year when I started on purpose trying to lose weight. People ask, because I have lost weight too, and people have asked, oh, how have you done it? I said, divorce and unemployment.
Right.
Would you like to try that?
That's why I'm like, you're the real question. Like, how did you tap into that discipline? Me, I'm like, there's a shot that I've been taking and it makes it possible for me to stop eating.
Well, I don't know that if it's, it is. I am disciplined now.
Yeah.
I am disciplined now, but this is after being so undisciplined and out of control. I mean, I would use food to not feel something. I would eat because I was depressed. I'd eat because I was happy. I would eat, it's the sun is shining.
It's like food's your best friend. Either way, it's right. It comforts you, or it's like your celebration partner.
Absolutely.
So are you at all concerned in your head? Are you concerned that you'll go back to old habits? And are you like in the back of my mind, I'm always like, when is the Cinderella? When am I going to turn into a pumpkin again? Like I'm worried to go off the shots because I'm like, I don't want to fall back to the same habits. My whole life I've been up and down. I would love to not be doing that anymore. And yet if I look back on history, that's what I do. Do you have that concern at all?
I do.
Yeah.
I do have that concern. And I'm just dealing with it day by day.
Yeah.
And taking it as it comes. As of right now, I have that under control. I'm at a healthy weight for my height. I'm at a good weight for my body. I feel good.
I have to just mention, because when you told me what your like highest weight was, and you were like horrified, but you're like, I hit this number, and I was like, that's like my goal weight.
You're 6 feet tall.
I know.
I'm 5'2.5" maybe.
I know.
So,
but I literally was like, I have no concept of what someone your height should weigh. Like, because you said that number, and I was like, great.
That sounds amazing. Paige and I talk real numbers with weight and money.
Yes.
All right. We like to talk about that stuff. But yes, I'm worried about it. And yes, I have a lot of compassion for myself. Even I did get a little bit obsessive, which is not healthy, and that's not what I recommend. But I did get a little obsessive about, oh my gosh, I ate nachos and I drank a beer. Oh my God, the scale's going to be up by 3 pounds in the morning. And that's when I thought, whoa, time out. Like, I'm not living like that. So
are you back social now? I know you were saying it kind of stopped some of your social interaction, which I get. I've totally been there too.
When I decided I needed to lose weight,
yeah,
for so many reasons, yes, I stopped being social for a while because I didn't trust myself to go out and not eat all the fries, to not have a second glass of wine. I just didn't trust myself to do it. So I stopped doing that, and that was what I needed to do.
But a big bummer at the same time.
But a big bummer at the same time. But it's what I needed to do, and I'm glad I did. And I've really retrained myself on how to eat. I do a lot of mindful eating, I do a lot of my, meditation
Yeah.
on. It sounds woo-woo hippy-dippy, but it works for me. And so that's what I would say to you. You're worried about not taking the shots anymore. I would venture to guess you are more disciplined in your working out now.
Yeah.
You may still eat a burger, but only eat half of it. I would also guess that maybe you have incorporated some healthier eating habits as well.
For sure. I crush ridiculous amounts of protein.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, to remember that you are doing this.
You're right. It's not so much. Maybe it's going to be harder to stick to the habits after off the shots, because what the shots do is they just make it literally physically easier to not It's like the flip switches in your brain to say I'm full, and you feel full to where you don't desire to keep eating. Whereas before I would feel full. I know I'm not hungry anymore. I'm just enjoying these fries so much. When that is no longer there, it's like I just have to tap into that part of my brain that goes, I know this protein shake that typically should be a meal replacement. That's not the appetizer or what, Yeah. So, right?
You're going to be just fine. But you look great. Have you noticed people reacting to you differently at this smaller weight? I'm curious about this.
Oh my God, Colleen, that's so funny that you say that, because I was just laughing with Jake the other day I walked in, I was with him at the gym. Well, two things. I will say two things about me, my changed appearance. I have lost 35 to 40 pounds, depending on, where I was or wasn't, about that window. And I have hair extensions. And I think the combination of those two things really have made me look a lot better, yes, and also a lot younger. Like hair extensions do this. I've always had hair extensions because my hair is like this thin when it's just my hair. I'm holding up like nothing for people listening. I don't even know what like a Q-tip. It's like a hairy Q-tip. But I do like the longer ones. And they, young people have the long hair and they can grow this luxurious long hair. Anyway, so I was at the gym with Jake the other day, and this guy who actually happens to be a plastic surgeon and is like super jacked and whatever. And he came up to me, he goes, oh my God. He goes, when you turned around, he goes, I've been talking to you for a minute and I just didn't even recognize you at first. I saw you standing over there with Jake, and I was like, who did Jake come to the gym with? And he goes, and then it's you. You look at, and he's talking about how great I look, which is so lovely. But all it made me do, people are so reactive sometimes to how I look now that it's made me be like, God, was I like a troll before? Like, people are so blown away by the change that I'm like, wait, do I look that different? Like, I didn't, it's sort of a crummy thought. I shouldn't go there in my head, but it's lovely for people to tell you that you look good, but not when the emphasis is on what you looked like before and how much better it is.
I 1000% get that.
Really?
Oh, 1000%, because people have made such a fuss with me over having lost weight.
Yeah.
To the oh my God.
Right.
And I'm like, what? Yeah. And it doesn't feel like a compliment to me, oddly. I'm very particular. I'm very weird. I have a lot of things about weight and body and appearance that I think we should and should not say.
Okay.
I am very hard on this because so many women, all women, I think all of us roaming the planet, all women have this pressure. We know what we're, quote, supposed to look like. Yeah. What the expectations are.
I think guys have it too.
They do.
I think it plays out differently.
Okay, true. I'm the mother of sons. I know that they have it too. I do think it's harder for us. I do think it's harder for women.
I think women internalize it more as part of their worth.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But I do think that men have the same thing. I think it just plays out differently emotionally for us. We put we attach more of it to ourselves and because society does too. But I do think that it plays out for humans you know what I mean?
For sure. But I totally agree. And I don't mean to leave the guys out. I just know that for women, we've been, in particular, I think have just been tortured with that, what we're supposed to look. I mean, the beauty business is a multi-billion-dollar industry because they're banking on us not feeling good about ourselves and spending lots of money to look better.
Yes. Yes.
And in the world of curated Instagram images and, oh my gosh, she's so hot, we praise people for being pretty, regardless as to what they say or they think or how they behave. Come on. No, we can do better than that. So that's why I'm particular about when I notice someone's lost weight, I'll just say, you look great.
Yeah.
I try not to make a big fuss about it. Because I know when people do it to me. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, was I a troll? Was I a monster before?
Right.
Oh my God.
And is that what you would, I know. And I don't know if you do this, but when someone now says to me, you look great, I immediately, because I know what they mean, I know what they're talking about, I quickly volunteer. I've lost like 35 pounds and I did a GLP-1 shot.
You're trying to beat him to the punch?
Because I'm like, I know you're wondering. When you see a pretty drastic change with someone,
yes.
you're like, you look great. And you do want to say, how'd you do it? Or what did you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And again, I don't mind sharing that. So I do share it. My problem is you're better, Colleen, the fact that you have given yourself rules of things to say and not say. I so appreciate other people's openness that I probably overshare myself to where things that I know I assume they want to hear because I would want to hear it from them. But I probably should be much more understanding that not everyone wants to talk about the same stuff I do.
Well, no, I love that you want to share that. I think that's helpful and great.
But I shouldn't expect them to be as comfortable. Maybe as
well, I tend to be an oversharer too. Right. I mean, I'm not shy to talk about stuff. I just know that so many people have very messed up views about their own bodies. They're women who loathe their bodies. And it is paralyzing to them to the point where they won't take their kids to the pool in the summer. They will turn down the boating invitation. Yes. They won't go to the beach with the neighbors because they don't want anyone to see them in a bathing suit. Yes. They're not living their lives because they're so worried about how they look. And so when we are constantly, oh my God, you're so tiny, you look amazing. It's just think it does something. It's like, well, if I gain the weight back, are you not going to like me anymore? And then I'm still the same person.
Yeah,
I'm still the same on the inside. So that's what I mean. Yeah. I'm attuned to the ways in which we hurt ourselves because of how we look. So I don't like to fuss too much.
Yeah. Even when I was in that, looked physically different and at a different weight. And if I gained the weight back at some point, whatever, I was pretty quick in my mind. Like I didn't love the way I looked. I didn't love how my body felt most of the time, but I pretty quickly was like, no, but I'm a good hang,
Yes.
It wasn't my identity. If something happened to me and I all of a sudden was 4 feet tall instead of 6 feet tall, I happen to like being tall. It's not a thing that some women hate that about. I like being tall and it's part of my identity. And if I all of a sudden was short, I would be really bummed about it. And I was like, oh, people who, like when people say like, I got my pre-baby body, I'm like, my pre-baby body was never much to write home about anyway, So that wasn't like a thing for me. Right. So I get if you were always lean and always this and that, and then that went away and you're like, who am I now? And what's my thing? I can see how it's a lot more traumatic. And a big, like you feel like a bigger part of your identity is gone.
You mentioned identity. Did you go through a weird thing when you weren't on TV anymore? Was it like, oh God, now who am I? I'm not the girl on TV? Or did you not have that?
Not this time. I got laid off from a TV job when I was 8 weeks into maternity leave with my oldest. And I experienced that then. This time, because I chose to leave and because I basically walked off TV onto the stage, that you kind of scratch that itch of people like telling you good job and getting like the sort of, the atta-girls that you get from TV and need from that type of like feedback. But the first time I got late, and it was very weird to all of a sudden be like, especially because I had just had a baby, right? So I lost my job, any job I lost. It was also a TV job, which is a little out there and visible. And you're wrapping your brain around like, am I just quote unquote just a mom now? Am I, so for sure I felt that the first time. Yeah. Or how about you?
When I left TV, no, I was over it, but there was a long time that I did think, if I'm not the woman on TV, who will I be? I really did suffer with that. And I've done, the longer answer is the reason I don't have that identity crisis as much anymore is, and I had it when I got divorced. It was like, I'm not somebody's wife. Oh my God, now I'm an empty nester. Yeah. My kids don't need me. Holy hell, who am I, right? I did have some of that. But it's because I think that we are all so much more than the tall person, the short person, the skinny person, the lawyer, the doctor, the TV anchor. That's not who we are. Those are jobs we do, right?
You become those things because of who you are. You get those job titles or those jobs, but you're still the same human.
Yeah, I'm more interested in like, who are we really?
Agree.
Who are we in our hearts and souls? And, know, and so I had to really kind of figure that out and wrestle with that.
Yeah.
Which is, it's funny that you said you're a good hang, because I always thought about myself too. Even when I gained weight, I'm like, I'm a good time. Yeah. I'm a goddamn delight. Right. Like, people are lucky to hang out with me.
I know.
So I still had some sense of worth and self-esteem.
Same. But I was like, bummer that I can't wear the jeans I want to wear, but I'll throw on this big bag dress and we'll still have a great time,
Which is a very healthy attitude, I have to say.
Yes.
Paige, for somebody who is thinking about going in on a side hustle or going all in and making that their full-time deal. Any words of wisdom or advice that you would share with somebody who's thinking of making that kind of a transition?
Two things come to mind that have been most useful to me. One is to know that whatever you think you're going to be doing, it's probably going to change daily, if not weekly, if not monthly, right? Like if you're leaving to start your floral business, you'll probably end up like selling car washes, or you know what I mean? Like at some point, and it will, or it will become like you think you'll do weddings, and really what you end up doing most is graduations and birthday or something like. Because that's how it was for me, at least. Like what you find is like what people will pay you for, that's what you end up leaning into and doing more of, right? So like being open to that and just and being open to it changing and being open to the reason it changing because you're just sort of learning and talking to more and more people. So the lifeline for me has been doing exactly this, what you and I are doing right now, and what we'll do when the microphones turn off, which is like, how do you do that? How do you follow up with a client? When did that person, I saw that person had you come speak at this thing. How did you meet them? What did you charge them? Did you send them this proposal? Did someone introduce me? I'm really trying to get into this company. Will you tell, like the true honest conversations with other people who are either where you are or have been where you want to be or seem to be growing whatever kind of a business also. Just asking them and being willing to then also share that stuff.
You're very good at doing that. I mean, I know that you're not just saying this. You've done this with me.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Well,
Yes.
the reason that I can do that and know to do that is because people did it for me, right? So I have one of my dearest friends. Do you happen to know her? Sharon Delaney McLeod. She's in TV also.
Oh, no.
And it's such a small TV world.
Okay,
I know. I didn't know maybe. She was in Raleigh. She and I knew each other from that. And she literally, when I first left, she had, a proposal template and a keynote outline and her curriculum that she had built for a course, and she goes, take it, change my name, use it. Don't reinvent the wheel. And I didn't use her stuff verbatim, but the fact that she gave it to me, was just so kind and so helpful because you're just like treading water. So I try to do the same thing as much as possible of just like, there's room in the sandbox for everybody. So I will share with you what I know and what I've learned. And I hope that you'll pass it on. And that I'm saying you figuratively, anyone, because the more we all do that for each other, I think the more it's just so helpful to everybody. And it just creates it's like entrepreneurs have to create their own corporate culture, which is just, you know what I mean? And that's not just entrepreneurs, but people who have more traditional jobs also. Mm-hmm. It makes you feel better. And it's so helpful to other people to just share what you have and not, what do the kids say these days? No gatekeeping.
Oh, is that what they say?
I think so, right? That's
you are so much cooler than I am, Paige. Oh, you are so much cooler than I am.
My teens are still at home.
Yeah.
So I'm still overhearing that stuff.
Mine barely call. I'm just kidding.
You got to tell them to put numbers to it, right?
Yeah, that's right. I got to tell them, here's what done looks like.
Exactly.
Here's what the expectation
what every now and
is.
then means. Yeah.
So what I hear you saying really there is having a good network around you of other entrepreneurs, other people who are doing the thing that you want to be doing, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. And reaching out to them, asking questions.
And giving it.
Yes, you have to give it to.
I just think that, that'll all
when people call and say, can I pick your brain? I mean, that's not the best way to network, in my opinion. I think
agree. And I've done it. I've also done it.
I've totally done it. And I don't like it.
I know.
It feels a little bit douchey because I just don't like it. I think being able to offer something to someone as well or paying it forward, that's really important. Yes. But I love that you do that because not every entrepreneur is as gracious, I think, as what you're saying. I have also been fortunate to meet great people who are happy to share. Mm-hmm. But I think that's what you're saying, though. Surround yourself with those kinds of people.
Yeah.
Meet those
and
people.
Be that kind of person. Yeah.
And be that kind of person yourself. Yeah. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that a place that you were hoping we'd go that we didn't?
What is your next step plan? Like for the GLP-1, like are you going to start to come off of it? Or are you just going to lower dosage? Like what are you thinking?
Great question. I don't know. I mean, I am playing it by ear right now. It seems to be such the wild, wild west for everyone. Even my doctor who I talk to about it is like, so some people do this. Yeah. Some people, she goes, what my dosage now is kind of like mid dosage. A lot of people who I know microdose and consistently microdose like for their lives, they're kind of playing, and biohackers apparently have been doing that for decades. They're like, everyone's acting like this is new, but they've been doing it. So I will probably my plan for now, I am at a weight that I'm comfortable with and my muscle mass is good and all of that. So I would like to gradually go down weekly and just see how it goes and then play it by ear and see if my doctor said to me just the other day, she goes, I have one client who came off completely, but she redoses herself leading up to her birthday, major holidays, et cetera. So she just treats it like, and I go, she said that, and she goes, or people go down, or they microdose, or and I go, so basically what you're saying is just kind of like figure it out as you go. And she goes, kinda, yeah. Like and I said, my concern is there a danger to staying on it? And she goes, no, there doesn't appear to be. So you don't need to worry about that necessarily. It's more as long as your constipation's not an issue, nausea's not an issue, side effects aren't an issue, like kind of like listen to your body and do what you can.
What's been great about losing the weight?
I just feel emotionally and physically, I feel like more myself. I feel more comfortable. And I didn't not feel that before. I didn't think, I wasn't one to avoid things but I didn't think so, at least I should say. Now I have so much more look forward to everything. I mean, the clothes I can wear now, it's more fun. I enjoy seeing, I just feel better. And in my own skin, I feel more comfortable too. Like I'm not constantly like tugging and tucking and, for my last year or two in TV, and it's so gradual, you don't realize it when it's happening. I had started to, first of all, I only wore like these are just because workout shorts, but I only wore like stretchy skirts. I no longer wore my skirts that zipped up because they didn't fit anymore, but I kind of didn't tell myself that was really why. I just was like, it's more comfortable to wear so I only wore like a black stretchy skirt. And for some shirts, even though it wasn't like revealing at all, but I would wear just stick-on bras because I didn't want the back fat of a bra. And it just like little things like that I was like, it happened so gradually. I didn't realize, but I was like, I should not be taking these drastic measures just to not have back fat from a certain angle or what, So it's nice to not have to feel, not that I ever had to do that stuff, but to not feel like I have to do that stuff anymore,
Mm-hmm.
Which some of those things are silly and some of it was health stuff. Like I should, it's also nice to not go to sleep stuffed every night and feeling like a slave to like wanting to stand up and go make another snack plate while I'm watching a show or the freedom of that type of thing. Alcohol consumption, it cut down on naturally too anyway. I'm not a huge drinker anyway, but at certain points I had gotten to where I would drink 2 glasses of wine or more, sometimes almost every night or some nights. And I don't do that anymore either because it's just like you don't kind of have the desire. So just sort of all of that overall, it's like a generic big answer, but pretty much just better physical and emotional feeling in general.
I think that's helpful. I do. I think it's helpful that you share that and say like, and I feel great, I look great, and this has been my experience with it. Decide for yourself. Like, that's great.
Yeah. There is, if you have thyroid issues and there's some pancreatitis issues, those are the only like contraindication, that you wouldn't, that it's not safe, I think. But otherwise they say I think, at least from what I've heard, and I will tell you too, I'm not your doctor, talk to your doctor if they're obviously, but maybe it's worth getting a second opinion if you're interested in it and you want to try it and I want to kind of see, because having experienced it myself, like it's just effective in a way that discipline isn't sometimes for us, And you know what I've been shocked by too? How many men are on them.
Oh, really?
And men are far more secretive about being out. The women were like, baby, get you a GLP. You want some of mine? Like, I'll shoot you up, Because women, that's one of the joys of being, we struggle more with it, but we can talk more openly about it because it's like a thing. Whereas I think men, they're embarrassed, the ones I talk to anyway, because they're not supposed to care about, you know what I mean? Like they're supposed to they're like, we're big burly men, we don't care. I can't tell you how many dads of the kid like are like, oh yeah, I've been on a microdose for 3 years, right? I do, and I'm like, bitch, why don't you tell the rest of us? You know what I mean? Like, you look great. And like,
Paige Fehling, it is so good to have you here, my friend. Thank you so much. You come back anytime for any reason.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to the Wake Up to Your Life podcast. I love connecting with you, so reach out to me on Instagram at Colleen_Odegaard. My podcast is also on YouTube now, so you can leave a comment on the podcast episode and tell me what resonated with you. You can subscribe to my channel at the link in our show notes. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next episode.